A through P. I dreamed about it last night. Hey, Al.
Oh, sure, absolutely. The answer isn't always what we want.
But not everybody knew was Chris, right?
Or maybe, that was after God. Sometimes the answer is yes,
I wanted to
sometimes
raise my hand at some point and say, come back, do another one. Do we have a second or third?
sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's sure. Wait, don't be unity later. That's right.
That one obviously didn't work. Try it again.
I need to work on my communication here.
This Friday. Oh, he's coming in. Either tomorrow
Or even
Good job, Mr.
Gary, how you doing?
All right, sir.
Good to see you.
So. I'll see you.
Nobody sits up.
He's gonna bring these up.
You think we'll have any more of the folks from last night here this evening? I hope not.
No. Well, you know what? They can come and speak, but
Well,
They
if,
get
if we
3
get a
minutes.
bunch of them, you might. This is a thought. Move them to the end of the meeting after we do all the business. That's just a thought, but
yeah, I know. Yeah.
You say, Mayor?
What's happening, Greg? Good to
All
see
right,
you.
brother?
Thank you for coming in last night.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate the Coach Bailey push.
yeah, I tell you.
Hey, man, I was gonna say you half stepping, but I thought, nah.
Hey, man, you know what? When you told me that, I went right to work.
Yeah.
I said, okay, let me make arrangements to get out of here. So luckily somebody helped me out. So.
It's Tuesday.
Jerry, what's up, man? Who?
I've been taking calls all day from folks, Mayor, and working on a lot of stuff.
Good. What's the process?
It's a process, exactly. You know, I think 2/3 of the people didn't really understand
Right.
what the real deal was, and
Well, I'll be in.
I agree with you.
But I made a contribution. What was the fundraiser for? Oh, that's an easy deal, easy contribution. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm all in.
oh well, I'm glad you thank you, appreciate it. Leave it to me to say.
The last time I talked to him, he told me that.
At this time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, March 21st of 2023, City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. We have in the chambers with us District 2, Grady Simpson, District 3, Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 5, Andrea Reese. At this time, if you would please stand for invocation, remain standing for the pledge. Grady, would you lead us in invocation, please?
Yes, Mayor. May we bow our heads, please. Oh, Father God, we come giving you thanks for this day. We ask for your guidance and your protection. As we experience difficulties, God, we ask for your wisdom to guide us through all the difficulties and to have the wisdom to see what's ahead so we can make our adjustments for a better future. All in Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Next on the agenda is the mayor and council community recognition and events. I want to take a moment to thank our staff for getting everything set yesterday for our annexation meetings. You know, that's the process where we hear comments from those that are being affected and from our citizens. And overall, I think it went very well. Again, I appreciate everyone who came out and spoke and had an opportunity to speak. I think everybody had that chance, and I want to thank the council for taking time out of their day to be there for that. Does anybody have any community recognitions or events that they would like to bring forward? No, hearing none, we'll move on. Do we have any remarks from visitors? There are none. At this time, we will adopt the minutes. However, we are going to postpone item 6.1. Is there a motion to postpone item 6.1?
Motion to postpone item 6.1.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Andrea Reese, District 5, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 3, to postpone the minutes of the meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 7.1, discuss and consider Animal Advisory Board appointments. This is City Secretary Don Stile.
Mayor and council, we recently passed Ordinance 2955, which added a Terrell citizen to the Animal Control Shelter Advisory Committee, and we discussed this at last week's meeting. There are several people that are in the packet. Elena Balmeres, she would represent the licensed vet. Omira Mata, Gwendolyn Kynes, she would be the represent the Animal Welfare Organization. Cynthia Hunter would represent the Terrell citizen. Omira Mata would be the municipal employee, and Sherry Harmon would represent the animal welfare shelter operator.
Okay.
And these are all recommended to be appointed to that committee.
This falls under Grady Simpson. Mr.
Yes.
Simpson, what would you like to do?
Yes, Mayor, I approve of the names just mentioned.
As submitted?
Yes, sir. As submitted.
For the Animal Advisory Board appointments?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that your motion?
That's my motion, sir.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Andrea Reese, District 5, to appoint those names who were spoken for the Animal Advisory Board appointments. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 7.2, discuss and consider Capital Improvements Advisory Committee appointment. This is going to be handled again by our City Secretary, Don Stile.
Mayor and council, we discussed the appointment to the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee last week. The staff recommendation is Shane Phillips. He lives in the ETJ. He is a former airport board member. He also has experience in real estate and construction, and he owns Lakeside Commercial Builders. And this will basically add a member to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right, council, does anyone have any questions for Don? Hearing none, is there a motion on 7.2?
Motion to appoint Shane Phillips to serve on the Capital Improvements Advisory Board Committee.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I second.
Have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to make an appointment of Shane Phillips to the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee appointment. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is discuss items. It's 8.1, discuss fire department, a strategic plan update. This is going to be by our fire chief, Shane LaCroix.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I've come before you this evening to discuss the fire department's 3-year strategic plan. But when we move into this, first I want to kind of look back at 2022, look at some of the accomplishments that took place during that year. So we'll start off with some run data. As you can see, our run counts for the year were 4,924 calls for service. That's up 16% from the year before, 2021. It's an increase of some 700 additional calls. So as we look at the breakdown, this kind of shows you what we already know, that the majority of the calls that we make are EMS in nature. It's kind of what we do. It's 77.5% is of the calls that we make is all towards EMS. So one way to put all this in perspective is kind of looking back at 2016 to 2022 and kind of look at how the number of calls, how they trend. So as you can see, around 2017, we started bumping up. And then 2019 to 2020, there was a little drop. That was due to COVID. But since then, we've been moving upwards. Kind of if the stock market looked like this, we'd all be in pretty good shape, but it seems like not to be the case. Now the overlapping calls, which is almost a mirror image of the total calls. And the overlapping calls is what I pay the most attention to, because these are calls that come in, when we're already out on one call. So we have all our equipment tied up. So in 2016, about 20% of the time we had overlapping calls. Now we're at 43%. Last year we were at 37%. Year before that was 32%. So it just has been inching forward and forward. So looking back at some of the accomplishments that took place in the fire department, thanks to y'all here on the council, we was able to restructure the department's pay plan for all ranks. Was able to add a deputy fire marshal's position to the fire prevention division. Was able to replace or make the order to replace an apparatus, our 2000 model apparatus, but we're also given additional approval to purchase another engine with that one in anticipation of Station 3. You know, we had 30 additional certifications were gained by operational personnel in 2022. You know, since 2018, and that's when I came, you know, I've seen an increase of 150% in new additional commission certifications that the guys are getting. That credit can be given to y'all because y'all help incentivize these new certifications, and personnel's went out and got it. What it's been able to do for us is open, you know, different avenues of services that we can provide. So clicking through here, you know, our driver, operator pumper, you know, we had 4 people get new certifications in 2022, which brings that total to 16 in the department. Fire instructor, we added 2 additional. Now we're up to 19. Fire inspector, we're adding 3 additional. That gives us a total of 8. Fire investigator, we added 1, so we have 4. Fire officer 2, we added 2, so now we're up to 4. And here's a big one, hazardous material technicians. We added 6 new certifications to that, so now we have a total of 9. Our blue card incident commander, we added 8, so now we have 12. Swiftwater rescue techs, we added 4, so now we have 12. So that brings us to the 30 new certifications in 2020. So to today, we've added 84 additional certifications. Equipment purchased and or received in 2022, utilizing the funding from the FAST grant, or the Fire, Ambulance, and Service Truck grant. So we were able to purchase 2 additional MSA's thermal imaging cameras, which allow us, when we go into smoke-filled structures, to be able to see. 6 self-contained breathing apparatus, which allowed us to, we have a replacement schedule for these units, and so that helped us replenish and remove some dated equipment. 2 additional Zoll cardiac monitors, which now allows us to have one on the battalion's vehicle. So remember, I was discussing the overlapping calls. One of the things that we've been doing when that happens is that the battalion can pull a firefighter off one of the apparatus and make that 3rd call. Now we have the equipment on there because he pulls a paramedic over to help, you know, to go with him on that call, and so they have the tools there, so we can still continue to provide that ALS service. We were able to purchase 30 sets of wildland firefighting gear. This gear is not only used for wildland, but it's also can be used for extrication. We had 3 additional sets of extrication tools. So now all apparatus has a set of extrication equipment on it. We have 1 unit that we are decking out to be a special response unit that will carry more of the advanced type rescue equipment. And we got the grant for 1 brush truck, which we're waiting the installation of the pump at this time. We're expecting deliveries sometime mid to late summer. It's like everything else, it's just taking time to get it in. Other equipment purchased. This was through our budget. We was able to do this. So I was able to get a special event ATV. with the medical transport capabilities. What this helps us on is like the fly-in and the Jubilee, areas where it's hard to get an ambulance or a fire truck down to where, because of the crowd, we can get medics down there to check if there's, if somebody's injured. But we can also transport them back up to a spot where we have a staging area for an ambulance. So it allows us to kind of move through these tight quarters where before we were trying to get an ambulance down there or trying to get a fire truck down there. Was able to upgrade our public safety radio systems and fleet radios. Was able to purchase the PhotoKite, the mobile mounted drone. This is a tethered drone. It's got thermal imaging capabilities. We're still awaiting, delivery for this, but this is going to be a big improvement for our battalion who's sitting command outside, out front. It's going to be able to give them a 360-degree look at the incident scene. It also gives them the ability to, at night, to be able to see, who's around the structure. And say a wreck or something like that on Interstate 20. One of the things we're always concerned about and we're always checking for is somebody being ejected from a vehicle. Because sometimes if it's a serious accident, the driver is not able to tell us those things. Well, this drone can be deployed, and like I said, it does a 360, and it's picking up thermal imaging. So if we get an image, then we can tell if somebody is in the immediate area that got tossed from the vehicle. So I think it's going to come in handy on situations like that. It's going to give our incident commander better situational awareness.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that at the beginning of each meeting, if you would please turn off your mobile devices. Thank you.
Shouldn't feel bad, it's happened to me before.
So now we'll kind of look back, kind of a review of the last 3-year strategic plan. One entailed FY 22, 23, and 24. So one of our goals was to continue to stimulate professional development and provide growth opportunities for both the department and its members. That's one of these goals that's going to be ongoing because we're always looking for areas to provide professional development and to encourage advancement of our firefighters. So evaluate the department's current fire station location, design, numbers with acceptable emergency response standards and projected growth. Back in January of 2021, we contracted with Mike Peach, and it's Peach Consulting Services, to perform an assessment or a study of our current number and location of operating fire stations to the current industry standards and ISO requirements. The results of this studies is what we've been utilizing to assist us with developing a master fire station location plan. Replace apparatus which has met its 20 years end of service life to ensure a maintainable fleet of dependable, up-to-date response apparatus. We have done that, and that is another one it's just a goal that we're going to continue to do year after year so that we make sure that we have all of our apparatus in a response-ready state. So incentivize certification and education advancement separately so that members are encouraged to seek advancement in each. That's been completed. And I think the the results of that is what we've seen on a few slides back. We're getting these 30 new certifications. Restructure the department's current pay plan to provide adequate separation between ranks, and that was completed too, thanks to y'all. So now we have a structure built that should withstand longer than I'll be here. Establish an assistant fire marshal's position. We've done that, and that's came in, it's done as good since our fire marshal is still finishing up with the police department. So the assistant fire marshal is taking on that role and responsibility right now. Establish an EMS quality assurance officer's position, which we have done. We have one on each shift. They have been doing a great job of, you know, they do our quality assurance for every run that's made on their shift. And they also do CEs, or continuous education, for our paramedics and our EMTs. And they've also branched off, and we're taking on other responsibilities. We've sent them to get certified so they can teach CPR classes, which we've been given to some of the businesses and the citizens. And so that's new for them. So what's new? So we're looking at, these is what we're proposing, you know, for our plan for FY 24, 25, and 26. So again, we're going to continue to stimulate professional development and provide growth opportunities for the department and its members. You know, one of the things that we've done is we've done department initiatives for each position. And it kind of goes hand in hand with this. For instance, for driver operators, when they promote in that position, you know, we're requiring them to get a Texas Commission on Fire Protection driver pump operator certification. Also for them to get their fire instructor certification and their Fire Officer 1 certification. And finally, their Blue Card Incident Command certification. This is all important as part of credentialing them for that position. And some of the 30 new certifications that we've seen is people working towards these. Everything, as far as the ranks, one rank builds upon the other. So for our captain, one of our initiatives for him is to become an intermediate firefighter, structural firefighter, but also have the fire instructor certification, Fire Officer 1 and 2, Fire Safety Officer certification, Blue Card, Incident Safety Officer as well. Our battalions have to have all of the captain's requirements, but also we want them to become advanced firefighter certifications, and to have the Hazmat Incident Commander certification as well. One of our goals is to promote 3 additional captains and 3 drivers in anticipation of the Fire Station number 3 opening. Later in the presentation, we'll get to the timeline where this is being proposed, but it's around March or April. Doing so ahead of time, it allows a lot of mentoring that can go on with these new people moving into these new roles. Also, it allows them a little bit of time to get caught up on some of these certifications and initiatives that we have. But it allows them to work with captains and drivers that are already promoted as well. So they kind of learning the ropes as they go. And the hiring of 15 additional firefighters, you know, we've made application for the SAFER grant, and so we're just waiting on to see if we're accepted for that. So Our application was for 10. Ultimately, we'll need the additional 5. For right now, we're going for the 10. So evaluate and monitor developing areas within the city's boundaries for current and anticipated growth to maintain compliance with the department's ISO protection classification rating. So what we're looking at is in these developing areas is, they need to be within 1.5 mile response boundaries, which is something that ISO uses as it's basically a 4-minute response. So it's 1.5 road miles from a fire station that has an engine company, to that area. They also look at a 2.5 mile response boundaries for a truck company. And they have parameters that have to be met, whether or not you have to have an engine or a truck. A truck, it needs to be if there's a developing area that has 5 or more 3-story buildings, or they have 5 or more buildings that require more than 4,000 GPM, for fire flow, or 5 or more buildings that are 32 feet in height from the ground to the lowest roof, or any combination of the ones I spoke of. That would require having to have an aerial truck in that area. Ultimately, though, is 5 road miles from any fire station in these developing areas. That's just to get an ISO classification rating, period. And a credible training facility. All these things we want to maintain so that we can maintain our current rating of a class 2. So begin construction on fire station number 3 with the anticipated opening date in 2025. The study that we had done that Peach performed for us, identified the following needs to maintain a effective emergency response service for now and into the future, as well as to maintain the department's ISO rating. First, it was to relocate both Fire Station 1 and 2. Second was to build a 3rd station, to be located, on the west-southwest side of the city. Build a credible training facility. Increase staffing levels to 15 firefighters. Of course, that's to add for that additional fire station. And then purchase a frontline apparatus to respond out of fire station number 3, which we've already done. So identify and purchase a site location to begin construction on a Texas Commission on Fire Protection accredited training facility with a company fire admin building. So, a training facility, in prior ISO rating, so back in, it was the 2003 editions, they allowed, training was accredited for off-site drills at using donated homes or parking lots and things of that nature. But the 2012 edition of ISO, which is the rating system that we're using now, it was adopted in 2015. It only gives training credits for a drill at a credible training facility. The lack of training of a training facility within a reasonable driving distance, which is about 5 miles, for us, it reinforces the fact why we need this drill field. So a credible training facility, what does that entail? It consists of 3 stories or taller drill tower, where most are 4 to 5 stories. Fire resistive fire or smoke building. A flammable liquids pit, which can be substituted for kind of a video portion to that, so we don't have to deal with it. And to be sitting on at least 2 acres for this facility. You know, not only is the ISO portion important, that we, you know, so that we maintain that, but the other part of it is that we need to have our members a place in which they can learn, practice, and refine, you know, the skills required to safely mitigate emergency incidents. You know, the community is counting on us to be able to do that. Training facility will allow us to become more proficient in what is considered low frequency, high risk responses, such as rescues from elevated positions, conducting vertical ventilations, you know, flashover mitigation and survival, self-rescue, and fire rescue techniques. And that, oh, there we go. Hose deployment evolutions. And of course, working with our counterparts on the police side, you know, for SWAT training and then active threat type exercises. It's a lot easier to scuff up a drill field than it is to scuff up a school or whatever. You know, this facility will stand or symbolize, you know, not only to the members of the Terrell Fire Department, but the Terrell community as well as surrounding public safety agencies, the commitment made, you know, to public safety excellence and the high expectations placed on our public safety response. So utilizing the fire department's fire station study, identify and purchase appropriate site locations to relocate and build Fire Station 1 and 2. So we're going to look at the map. So currently this is the way the stations are set up. So you see in the middle, there's a lot of area of overlap. So we're not utilizing you know, the full effects of these 2 stations because they're too close together. They need to be spread apart. So in this shows using that 1.5 mile driving radius or driving distance of how these stations could be, Station 1 and 2 could be laid out, but also Station 3. So what the study recommended was, you know, to relocate Station 1 in the area of Rockwall and State Street and deploy an engine company out of there. Station 2 to be relocated in the vicinity of Highway 34 and British Flying School Boulevard, and deploying an engine company and the existing dedicated ladder company from there. And then Station 3 in the vicinity of Tejas Drive and Farm Market 148, and deploying an engine company. So our next goal was to ensure all fire apparatus are maintained in a response-ready status through the adherence of a 20-year replacement schedule and a quality preventative maintenance program. You know, as mentioned earlier, our apparatus replacement schedule is built on a 20-year end-of-life cycle. Apparatus will spend, you know, the first 10 years in frontline response, and then 10 years in reserve. Utilizing this type of rotation schedule, you know, it ensures that our in-service apparatus are maintained in a response-ready condition. And it, like I said, it increases the, or decreases the wear and tear and increases, you know, the ability to depend on these apparatus for a longer period of time. So one of our goals is to receive delivery and place into service the 2 new fire engines. So again, the anticipated delivery date is somewhere in November, December 2025. So remove our 2081 engine from in-service rotation. And we'll probably have to hook to it with a record and move it. All right, y'all gonna wake up? Okay. I thought it was funny when I put it in there. But.
It's been a long night yesterday.
I know. And this is an ongoing goal, you know, is to provide the department's fire prevention program with the resources needed to carry out its enhanced fire safety initiatives. And, you know, last year we accomplished that by the deputy fire marshal's position, who has, you know, like I said, he's had to take the reins till the police get done with our fire marshal. And hopefully he's not second guessing his choice. And then to continue to provide the department's evolving emergency medical services with enhanced ALS support equipment and training. You know, we'll continue to support this because this is 75 to 80% of what we do. So utilizing the education and certification pay initiatives to continually raise the bar of professionalism within the department and the level and types of service provided to the citizens of Terrell. You know, we have a lot of good examples, but I think I have these. You know, again, some of the things that we're doing is we sent out these, our EMS shift coordinators to get certification to be able to do certification classes for CPR. And so they've been doing that. But the other great example is the 9 additional hazmat techs that we brought on board. Back in 2018, we had 1, that was me. And now we've got 8 additional. So we're getting in a good spot there so that, you know, we got to buy some equipment to go along with it so these guys can function at that level. But it's going to allow us to depend less on outside agencies and more internally on our own personnel. You know, ensure fire department salaries are competitive with fire departments whom we compete with to hire and retain qualified, skilled, and diverse workforces. You know, we need to adopt a more proactive approach to doing salary surveys and studies. You know, when we gather salary data, we need to compare our salaries with other cities' projected salary increases instead of the past year's salaries that they had. You know, this will keep us up current and not one year behind really our competition. You know, we currently, you know, we just did the salary restructuring, and compared to last year's salaries of these 10 cities, it moved us up to about mid-range. But as soon as October 1 came, we dropped. So we're number 10, except for captains, they're number 11 out of the, they're on the very bottom. and our battalions are number 9. So we're at the bottom once again. So we need to look at that and take, like I said, I think a more proactive approach by forecasting out or asking where these cities are headed. You know, what are they projecting? Review and revise the department's recruitment strategies to bolster inclusion and stimulate the interest of a more diverse pool of potential firefighter candidates to consider entering the fire service profession. That's a mouthful, so let's break it down. So one of the things that we've been looking at and we're working on is to build and place on our website a recruitment video that will appeal more to these diverse population of potential candidates. You know, since COVID, COVID robbed a lot of the EMS side of the fire service away. Some of them went into nursing, and some of them just totally dropped out. But we have a different group of folks that are moving up, and you know, we have to appeal to those groups in different ways than maybe we've done in the past. So we're going to be exploring different options as far as that goes. One of the ways is to continue to work with the Terrell Independent School District in Trinity Valley, you know, to build a dual credit firefighter certification program for high school students to increase interest in entering the fire service upon graduation. There is a handful of cities in Texas that are now doing this. You have, I believe, Abilene and Grand Prairie and Louisville. Dallas is doing a form of it, which theirs is a pretty interesting, and we'll get to that. Let me move over here. Dallas is doing this called Ladders program, and so one of the things that they do is they go out to these high schools and they do a one-day program for females, so that they can go through the skilled portion of the firefighting side of things, and it allows them to be in a environment where they can fail without being any issues to that. But the good part is some of them find out that they can succeed and they can do it, and so it encourages them to move forward and move into the fire service program. The same way with a lot of these dual credit systems. You know, it's reaching out to, generally it's juniors and seniors. I believe Louisville, I think, was a little bit different. They only do it with seniors, but I think Grand Prairie does it for juniors. The program starts as a junior and senior. But it gives people that may not have ever even thought about the fire service as a career a chance to look at it and increase the interest in it. And that's something that we're going to explore. Again, this is why a training facility is so important, not only just for our ISO and for our guys right now, but it allows us to be able to partner with these other agencies here so that they could do a certification program, because they have to have so much of the hands-on and the practical part that has to be done at a training facility that's accredited training facility. But it also, like the Dallas, the Ladders programs, it would allow us to be able to do those type of programs where you bring them out and you let them actually put the gear on and put their hands on a nozzle and see what a fire is all about. You know, take them into the simulated fire areas where, you know, they feel a little bit of the heat, to see the smoke, and they realize, you know, to themselves whether or not this is something that they want to do. I know for most it's it's gonna be the type that once they go in and they do it, and that's all they want to do, and then they're gonna move in that direction. Some it may be they don't never want to see it again, and that'd be the end of it, but at least they had that ability to try it first. So the timeline that y'all have seen 100 times, but this 101. So the two apparatus, that we have ordered, with the estimated delivery time of the 21, 23 months, so that's going to put it somewhere between November, December, of FY '25, which is still 2024. The process now that we're in with the SAFER grant, we've made applications, so we're in this process of waiting to see if we're going to be awarded. We need to be able to seal the deal on land acquisition for Station 3. Hopefully that'll be coming to a point here pretty quick. And then hopefully we move forward and we start the build so that if we start in October, then we're looking in FY '25 having that completed. So if we're successful with the SAFER grant, then we move forward with it for hiring the 10. On this chart, you can see that SAFER gives you 6 months to recruit and hire. But as you can see how where it says additional time may be needed, to fill based on past history, that's based on the 9 SAFER that we hired back in 2019, I believe. Based on how long it took to get those guys in, that we may be looking at, somewhere, in 2025 to actually hire all those 10. But the other part is we got to continue to move forward. So if we was not to get the SAFER grant, then I think we need to look at budgeting for 5 firefighters so we can get these guys on board. Again, based on how long it takes us to get these guys hired, we need to get them in and keep moving forward with the anticipation of this station opening. But we're going to think positive in that we would get the SAFER grant, be able to hire the 10 in this year. So then next year we would go for the same SAFER grant for the additional 5. If we didn't get the grant this year and we hired from the budget to hire 5, then next year we would go for 10 for the SAFER grant. So we're trying to keep the biggest number possible to be awarded through the grant. The promotion of the 3 captains and the 3 drivers is where it fits into this our timeline. This is what it would look like for that 5. So if we got the grant, the SAFER grant for this year, and we hired the 10, then we were able to get it for next year for the 5. So that kind of looks out how it would play out. If that wasn't the case, then we'd need to hire the remaining 10 so that we could man the station. So it's this area right here, this little 6-month period here that I'm striving for to be able to put that second engine in service. Soon as, because it's going to arrive around that period of time. So being able to hire when we're trying to hire and do what we're trying to do, that'll give us enough that even if we have to man it from Station 2, we'd be able to do that and get it in service. That's why looking at the promotions for the officers, we would do that a little bit earlier so that we'd have these guys up and ready to roll. Any questions?
All right, Chief, I want to say, for all of us, our fire department, the professional firemen, things have absolutely changed over the years on what is expected from our fire profession, fire department. I'm pleased that we're improving within the fire department, the equipment, the tools, the gears needed, and being prepared for emergency response with the equipment of the medical transport capabilities for events. I think that helps the city when it becomes liability. We've taken that away. That's a good thing. One of the things I'd like for you to do, please, is go back to the logo. Go back to your logo slide. And for the council that doesn't know what that actually means, can you do that?
Yeah.
Is that-
May take just a
Those three logos and what they represent.
He's just gonna do it slowly.
I see that. Hey, you know what? That's it. Well, you just, yeah. So what are those three logos
Right now,
represent?
Station 1 is the Tiger. Each station kind of wants their own logo, but we want it tied to the community. So Station 1 services the high school, so a tiger. Station 2 is out towards Trinity Valley, that area, so the cardinal. Station 3 will be the ram, because it's up here, it's close to the, Southwest Christian College. So we're just trying to tie it to the community.
Right. And I think that, hey, I think that's a fantastic thing, but a lot of our community doesn't understand how we value each one of our partners within the city. So that's a good way to do that. I knew that, but I wanted the rest of the council and the public to hear that. But on the training facility, has there been any thought given to partnerships, either with the county or other cities, on having the cost shared? I'm sure you've thought it, and there's pros and cons for both. And if you're not prepared tonight to address that, I would like for you to give us an email to me and the rest of the council as to the pro and cons of that, and if that's a possibility in helping get this training facility built. I think.
Yeah, the pros is cost sharing.
Right.
The cons is where does it go? Because if it's not in the city, then it's no good for us.
Right.
And if it's not in the areas that we're sharing with, then it's no good to them. So it's a lot of the cities that do this are cities that first of all, they don't have a county or an ETJ, but they butt right up to one another.
Right.
And so they can put it in an area that's accessible to both, so they both get ISO credit for it.
Right.
For us, that's going to be a little bit more difficult.
No, and I just want to make sure that the council knows that the thought has been given, and I agree with you. If it's not located in the city of Terrell, there's less benefit for moving forward with it. And I'm sure every other mayor and council within the county is going to feel the same way as we do. However, we can offer it for them to use, and is that at a fee, or is that just?
Generally, it's at a fee, yes.
Okay, all right, and whatever that fee is, if you could get that kind of briefed it, or emailed to us so that we have some kind of idea.
Yeah, and I don't want to leave out that obviously the number one partner that you would be looking at is Trinity Valley Community College, because you want to make sure that guys can get some coursework
Yes.
as well. So that's an important element of it. And then the school district would be a partner as well. I just don't think they're going to be particularly heavy on the funding side of it. They're going to give us operational help,
Right.
but they're not going to be paying capital costs.
Yeah, and I think, as we budget or look at our budgets and figure out a way, one, is it doable, and how are we going to do it, and how's it going to be structured? That's going to be a big part of how we're going to be able to support you moving forward with it. But also, I'm pleased with the idea of us looking at future growth and the areas that need coverage and don't need coverage. And I'm all about planning, and I know all of us are, whether it's about finances or just growth in general. So good for you. What we'll do now is I'll just start for District 2, give you an opportunity to speak to the chief, ask any questions, and then we'll move down. So District 2, Grady Simpson, you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor. I guess one of the problems that it solved, particularly with the exposure to our high schools about being a firefighter, is that will one pathway to helping our diversify our fire department. because just like what was said, we talked a few weeks ago, Shane, you know, the diversity of the fire department, you know, being more of a cultural thing than unintentional thing of not wanting to hire, you know, people of other races, you know, blacks or Hispanics. To me, when you're able to go into high schools and have these young kids exposed to it, I think it puts an idea on their head, say, wow.
That's how you change that culture.
Yeah, yeah.
You get them exposed to it early on, and then they build from there,
Yeah.
you know, so.
I think we can do that, and the training center, that's a big deal to me. Because I know the Forneys of the world and other surrounding places are probably thinking about it, particularly Forney. And to me, this will be a great move to have a training center for our firefighters, and just leading the charge amongst our county, and having other firefighters come as well. Also, a question, Chief. How many firefighters does it take to run a fire station? Did you say 10?
15.
15?
Yeah. You have to have a certain amount. Of course, in this situation, we want 4 on duty at all times at that station, so that's 12, right? But you have to allow people to be off, you know, and there's people they have time that's accumulated. They're going to take vacation and times like that. So you have to be able to backfill with that as well. So that's why the number's 15.
I just think this is something that really takes seriously, because we know the growth is coming to Terrell, and I know it seemed like I know maybe some of the people in the council and maybe some of our citizens might look and say, man, you know, this is more money is going out. But at the end of the day, it's really about the quality of life that Mr. Sims has spearheaded with our council. You know, you have a strong, solid fire department that can serve its citizens. That's going to be a powerful thing. I think I would ask the council to just really consider, you know, all these things that has been presented to move our city forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cost associated, of course, with everything. But I wouldn't say it's a cost. This is an investment. Because I don't know of anybody that can sit here and say that they'll never have to access 911. You know, some people, it goes a long time before they ever have to, and then some people may utilize it more often, but the potential is there. And so when you do have to access it, you want the best possible care, best possible service that you can receive. So again, to me, it's like it's an investment, you know, in the future, you know, and this training facility is another way that, you know, I can make my guys safer, because they can train on things that they don't run on all the time, but yet they may be called upon to do. And High Angle's a prime example. It's a very, very, you know, low frequency event, but it's a very, very high risk situation. Now, we send individuals to get them trained in High Angle and things of that nature. You know, and you think, well, what's the height? You know, the buildings. It's not just buildings. It's also antennas and it's things like that we've responded on. Individuals have climbed up and had a medical emergency. We've had to go up there and get them down. So we can't wait for somebody else to come do that. I mean, that's our job, and that's what we're going to do. Same way with the hazardous material, which has always been a big thing for me to address, you know, is that, you know, if we would never be able to have the capabilities, I say never, I mean, in years and years to come maybe, but to have a full hazmat response team. But we would have the ability to have a quick response team that takes a small spill or whatever and catches it quickly and able to stop it before it becomes a large spill. And instead of sitting there waiting on another entity to come in and they getting bigger and bigger, and then now you're looking at the environmental footprints getting larger and larger. You're looking at the downtime for the businesses going to be longer and longer. But then you're also looking at years and years of recovery. You know, if we get there quickly, we have the tools and equipment so they can, you know, dam something up, dike it, or even get close enough so that we can cover storm drains to keep it from getting into the storm drain system where it's spread around. All that's very important. And, so I'm excited about being able to get these guys trained to that tech level. And so the next part is, getting them the equipment that they need, which we got quite a bit of it, but there's still a little bit more in which we need to get. Because I got to protect them. I can't put them in harm's way without having the right equipment. But I'm excited about that part of it because, we've had an instance where I've had to call and request Dallas's hazmat. Well, based on the hazmat captain, it was just lucky that we was able to get them. If it had been 5 or 10 minutes later, we wouldn't have got them. And so we would, then what? I don't like the then what stuff. I like to have a plan. And so anyway, your most valuable resource, of course, is the human resource that we have. As long as we keep investing in them, I think we're going to be able to handle anything and everything that comes our way. But this training facility is huge. Like, again, we talk about football all the time. You just don't go play on Fridays. You got to practice, right? If you don't practice, you're not going to play very well on Fridays. So, they got to have a place where they can practice, like I said, these low frequency, high-risk events so that we get as proficient as we can, which makes them as safe as we can. And we also want to be a leader in the county. We already are. This will open the door for a lot of things. We were talking about inclusion. That's a big thing for me. It gives us the ability to go out to the high schools and go out to even businesses, and bring people in and let them see what we do. Let them walk in our shoes, I guess, for a day. For me, I think that's how you sell it. That's how you change the culture, is you bring these people in and you let them see that, it's not what they expected, and I think I can sell the fire service to everybody. Especially the ones that want to be a cop. I can really bring them over. But, because it's a very rewarding occupation. So,
Ready, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
District 3, Mayrani?
Thank you, Chief, for the presentation. And, I was paying attention when you had the image, do the drop down there. And certainly expected,
seen you smile.
Some new addition. I was also paying attention to the standard slide deck that you have with the logo for Terrell Fire Department and how the logos throughout the edges of your presentation. So I have two different areas where I have questions. One, my first one that I will focus on will be around the fire station study. And future growth. And then the second will be around diversity, equity, and inclusion as far as recruitment, because I heard you say, have a plan and investment in your presentation. So for my first bucket, if we look at, and I'll ask our city secretary, Don Stout, to pull up the map. Let me see, I just had the page number. Lost the page number, but it is the map with the proposed locations for the future fire station study, fire
33.
stations.
It's on page 33.
33.
It's in his PowerPoint too.
Yes. So the photo that is, the map, the photo that's on the screen, the proposed fire station 1 and fire station 2, did that study include future growth that we anticipate is going to happen to the north of Town North?
Yeah, in all, there was believe, 7 station locations that are identified in the study. So, based on the consultant, is whenever those developing areas become 50% populated, as the areas that are seeing, you know, that are covered right now, that's your sign that a station needs to be built in that area. So even though they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it may not be the way in which they come in. So there's, again, there's seven different station locations that's been projected based on, back in 2021, what the growth was going to look like. And again, the rule of thumb is once it becomes, that developing area becomes 50% populated as the areas that you're covering now, that's your sign to start building.
And are those areas measured in the 2.5 or the
1.5?
The 1.5 mile radius?
Yeah, it's not a radius, it's actually drive time. So it's not a straight line, it's, you know, that's where infrastructure comes into play. Areas that are really built up on the infrastructure, you can cover a lot more area. You know, areas that doesn't have the infrastructure, now that's, you know, it's going to take you longer to get to that point. So the 1.5 miles for an engine company is the exact methodology that the ISO uses when they do their rating systems. And they say that simulates a 4-minute response. Again, for a truck company, it's 2.5 miles, so you get a little bit further. But the 1.5 mile is the, you know, is what they use now and have been using.
So in the fire station study, there are other proposed locations based on the
areas, yes,
the proposed growth.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Just as an example of that, you recall the Arboretum Estates project. One of the negotiating points there is they're providing land for a fire station down in the Arboretum Estates area. So that's South 148 over where Los Lomas goes through the Arboretum Estates project south of I-20.
Thank you, Mike. So Chief, my second bucket here around having a plan. We know that each fire station will require 15 firefighters to staff that fire station. We currently have 2 fire stations. We're looking to add a 3rd fire station. You know, we have additional land that sounds like we'll have set aside for maybe a 4th fire station in the future, maybe for that proposed 3rd fire station. And I also like to have a plan. And when I think about diversifying the workforce, I think about the different areas of diversity, gender, race, ethnicity, income background, et cetera. We could go on about diversity. And I was interested in seeing, you know, what are those best practices among firefighter associations, you know, in the U.S. or across the world that we could start doing today. You mentioned a couple, like getting out in the community, partnering with businesses, and as much as I'm looking forward to the training facility and partnering with TVCC and partnering with Southwestern Christian College, I still feel like there's quite a bit that we could start doing now, and I would certainly challenge you and the department to start or continue more of that work. A few of the things that I saw on I think it was the International Firefighters Association the International Association of Firefighters that calls for a policy or a mission statement, vision statement around diversity and inclusion, an advisory committee that's made up of your current staff members or community members or those from the city of Terrell, as an example. It called for joining events like maybe events put on by the Breezy Hill Association or a church or like a taco festival, having a booth. I'm not saying we haven't done some of that already, right? But having some of those initiatives, and there's many more on the International Association of Firefighters. I also looked up the Black Association of Firefighters and the Hispanic Association of Firefighters, and I think it was the Hispanic Association has a job posting section where there's a posting for McKinney, the fire department of McKinney. So I enjoyed learning about all those different ways, and that maybe we can look at diversifying our workforce sooner than later. Not to say you're not already doing some of the work, but to continue to plan for when we do have those, are going to recruit those 15 firefighters for the new fire station. And as we have attrition that happens in the department as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing more in the future as far as what steps we're taking to diversify our fire department.
District 4, Stephanie.
When I looked at those two maps and how they overlap, was it any discussion, I wonder, with this study about moving one of the fire stations versus just building two new ones?
Well, you still have the areas that still needs coverage. That's both south and north, so that's why the movement apart. So that, we're not forgetting areas to the south or forgetting areas to the north by shifting it down one direction or the other. So I think by moving them both apart, and plus, we had a study done on our existing fire stations, and they need to be updated as well. I mean, we got 4 people in the station that was built for 2, and then we got one station that's fallen down amongst us. So I think it'd be a good time to make that move and do that separation part.
District 5.
One of the things I was wondering about is, would our training facility that we will hopefully have be utilized as a part of the dual credit system? Because again, trying to think of ways to pay for that. It would seem like that there should be some way to have that dual credit system help support that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option with, I guess, with Trinity Valley, to see how, how committed they are on that side of things. So, again, with the school districts, I think it's going to be difficult at best for some of this in these, because they're going to utilize it for a majority, for a time period, but the majority of the time is what we're going to be using as well. So, hopefully, working with them, we'll be able to work to a better answer for that anyway.
And is it feasible for the fire department to have some kind of a volunteer association like the police department has the Citizens Police Academy, which is partly a conduit for people being able to donate or help with things, that in a volunteer capacity. Is that possible for the fire department as well?
Yeah, our hope is, but it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Basically, a training facility would allow us to be able to do a Citizens Fire Academy. Because you bring people in, they're interested in doing what we're doing, and that's the part that they want to see the most of. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I would liken it to the idea that, the Rosenbaum room enables us, and having a brand new, full-service police station makes it possible in that headquarters building to really do a really good police academy. We have a location that's our gun range for our police officers, so we've got some stuff there that makes us able to really, deliver a good product. I just think over and over again, when you start studying operationally what it is that we need to accomplish in the fire department, If we're going to have a high school program, we need a training facility. If we're going to have a college program, we need a training facility. If we're going to have a citizen program, we need a training facility. A lot of things are going to go back to, did we build that piece of infrastructure? So it's an expensive piece of infrastructure. I would say looking at this map is a great way to kind of conceptualize it, because you're going to say to yourself, okay, we need to buy a piece of land in that red circle, fairly close to the middle of the red circle, where we can say, okay, we're going to be comfortable that one day when we have the money for it, we'll build a brand new Station 1. You do the same thing and down there in the yellow area. You got to buy a piece of land, and you got to identify where can we relocate a Station 2. And then Fire Station number 3, we think that we may have a agreement with our friends at the EDC to help us out on a location over there in Mike Cronin Business Park. That's good. That gets it where it needs to be. But then the thing that's not on this map, and the thing that we've kind of started some work on, is, well, where do you put a fire training facility? You know, that's a fairly high training location. I think we were looking at that being 60 feet high, Chief. And so, you know, you can't put it too close to the airport because you're going to have height restrictions, but you could put it a little close to the airport. You don't want to put it close to residential because you're going to have, you know, some training smoke, and you might have some sound and disruption from it. But you don't want it to be, you know, very far afield, right? It needs to be close enough where our, you know, when we've got people training there and there's an emergency, we want to make sure we can leave there, you know. So we can't go put it at New City of Terrell Lake, right? We gotta put it somewhere that makes sense for the operational needs that we have. So Shane's got a lot of burdens he's giving the organization on land needs. And I just think that's one of the most important things for council to realize, is that we're not going to do a high school program quickly. We're going to do a high school program as quickly as we identify land for a fire training facility, buy land for a fire training facility, borrow the money for a fire training facility, and build a fire training facility. There's a lot of steps there. And I think if we can get land acquisition for 2 relocations, and build the brand new fire station number 3. And then I think there's been some voices on council that says, hey, you know, tell us in an aggressive manner what we need to do over the next 3 years. So we're kind of taking council's lead there, right? Y'all said be aggressive and tell us what you think you need over the next 3 years. Ideally, we could build that training facility in the next 3 years. And if you're sitting at close to the end of FY26 and you're cutting the ribbon on a brand new fire training facility, I think that's going to unlock a lot of doors and make that next 3-year period one where you can really hit some home runs. But it's just a matter of building in a methodical fashion. And I think y'all know Chief LaCroix is a master about building in a methodical fashion.
So, anyone?
I just have
Okay.
one other quick thing. You know, you were talking about having the hazmat suits or hazardous materials things. That was really kind of brought home to me today at lunch. We had this presenter named Dustin Connor, and he talked about the possibility of, you know, hazardous material spills, which I had really never thought about before, you know, a train wreck or just different things like that. Issues in an industrial park that might have green smoke. You know, you just don't know what you're going to have. And so do we have any idea? You were saying you needed to purchase more suits. So do we have any idea what the equipment cost might be for that?
Well, it's not a cheap.
Well, no.
Cheap. So we're being creative on how we're trying to get these things. A lot of it is we went through grants to get some of it. And again, we had to get everybody trained up to the point to where we needed level 8 suits.
Right. So
we're still doing that. You know, we have 9 or 8 basically operational personnel. We're going to need additional personnel. We got some more going. So hopefully we'll get all that together, and then I'll be coming to you probably in this year's budget for items to help us, you know, get these personnel what they need to be able to, again, the small type leaks and things. But it's like anything else. They all start small. You know, they just grow bigger and bigger if they're not taken care of. So, you know, we've been able to purchase detection equipment. And we do a lot better job now. We can pick up, you know, different gases and things like that. But, you know, come right out with my fire marshal if you really want to get scared, and he'll take you to some places that scare you, you know. Things that keep me up at night, that's what we're trying to take care of right now, so.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, I do have one more.
Yes.
Item. It's for the fire department, and I would also like for my fellow council members to think about as we approach the HR presentation. As we continue to recruit, and we know there's not only local but nationwide difficulties in hiring staff, that we take a look at relocation funding for jobs. I'm not saying I would be in support of doing a blanket, setting funding aside for relocation, but for those specific roles that we are approved yearly, that we know we're having difficulty, or every 6 months, that if HR gives us a report, and well, I'll stop there because I'm getting into HR, but it just would ask my fellow council members to think that over. So most likely be bringing it forth again.
Okay, good, thank you. As we move forward with and continue this process, if we're going to relocate a fire station, I think some thought should be given to how we repurpose the old buildings, and if it's feasible, and what would that look like, Mike? Or if you could give us a report at some point.
Be happy to move some of that discussion into Glenn's three-year strategic plan.
Great.
I think that's probably the place for that.
Wonderful. Well, I knew someone had given it some thought, but I think the council needs to know about what those plans are. Chief, thank you for your report. Anyone else before we're done? Good, thank you, sir. Next on the agenda. We got emergency. Oh, we got another half? Okay. I don't have it on my sheet.
Well, let's just include the fire.
All right. All right, I guess we'll allow Connor. Come on, Connor. Oh, okay. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Do I have that on mine?
It wasn't on mine
I don't
either.
see it either.
Well, we just included it with fire department.
Okay. Got it.
It's in the power, it's in the packet.
I got you. Yeah, I'm good. Okay, found it.
We're going to look at some of the accomplishments that happened on the emergency management side of things for 2022. We're able to upgrade the public safety radio systems and our fleet subscription units. That was at a cost of $740,000 to get that taken care of. We provided COVID-19 vaccines and testing throughout the past year. And we awarded a grant for a mobile health clinic in the sum this $765,000. Of course, the vehicle is, like all the rest of the vehicles, is in line, and so we're expecting maybe a delivery in 24 months. Then we received a grant for a freeway blocking response vehicle for $127,000. And so it's going out to bids here within hopefully the next few weeks. And then we expect like a 12-week delivery time on it, so it'll be a little bit faster on it. So a review of some of the three-year goals that we had for 22, 23, and 24. Take advantage of the GMRS network to ensure continuity of public safety communications. We did. That's been completed. Provide annual tabletop exercise and full-size exercises for department heads and city officials. Of course, that's an ongoing goal, but this year You know, something we had slated when COVID hit was kind of active threat training for personnel and for, you know, it's kind of a multi-agency response. Well, then COVID hit, we wasn't going out and being able to get around a lot of people during that time, so everything got pushed back. So that's what we did in place of this for last year. So we had two different events, one in August and one in December that we did. So we brought in, you know, with Terrell Police, but also the Terrell School District police officers to come in and for us to all get on the same page of, you know, unfortunate event was to occur, you know, how we all play together on this. Evaluate the current EOC for functionality and provide redundancy in operation. That's been on hold. That's one of the things that will go into the fire admin building when and if we build one. Take a more active role in county and regional emergency management initiatives. And again, it's an ongoing goal because we want to make sure that we have somebody there that's getting all the information that's coming through and being able to network with those individuals. So our new goals for FY 24, 25, and 26. So apply for grant opportunities to add a second repeater site to ensure redundancy in our communication infrastructure. You know, I've talked about this since coming here, is that, you know, we have one repeater site that goes down, we have none. Well, one of the things was to join into the GMRS program. What it did, it was able to give us, what's that called, Dustin? Core access. All that technical stuff. Which, without it, would be, you know, close to $1 million investment for the city. But with us joining in on GMRS, it gives us access to that core. So now that if we go forward and try to find a grant opportunity to put in a second repeater, we've already got that part taken care of. Now, the repeater itself is not cheap. It's around $1 million bucks as well. So again, we're building it. You know, we got to continue to build the infrastructure out so that we can continue to do what we do. This year, we're going to be moving towards trying to provide an annual tabletop exercise, you know, a full-scale exercise for department heads and city officials. Like I said, we were able to get the active threat part done, which I thought it was more urgent than this. But this is important, just as important as well. So we'll be moving forward with that for this year. Evaluate the current EOC for functionality. Again, this is an ongoing process. Taking a more active role, again, ongoing. We want to ensure that our outdoor warning sirens service areas meet the coverage needed for all areas within the city. So we'll be researching, you know, possible funding options in large development areas. So we got a little map here, and this map's a little bit dated, but it kind of shows you what we look at when we're looking at coverage. Our radio contract, the one that services all of our outdoor warning sirens, will be able to provide us this acoustical type map to tell us where areas should be covered. So this is one of the ways that we can stay on top of and make sure that, you know, we're meeting the coverage that we need to meet. So this shows 8 repeater sites. There's 10 in all. One's been moved. One on Metro was moved out close to the bowling alley, and then there was one that was placed out on 34 North, out by Coggins Funeral Home. So But we're sitting around 10 now, and we can get this study done, and it doesn't cost us anything to get it done, so that's a good thing. And then we'll be able to go from there. You know, research and obtain and implement an updated mass notification software. So right now, we're working off the county contract, and they're using what, Evergreen, whatever it's, Everman, yeah, system, which the county has control of and the access of what information they put out. So we want to look at a system that can be built just for our area so that we have access, we can control what information goes out. You know, if we can have people sign up that want weather alerts or whatever that comes right to their phones, we can have that done. Say that Steve's guys, he ain't here to enjoy this, but you know, they hit another water main or something and we have service disruption or whatever, we would be able to notify the people in those areas. So it just gives us a lot more functionality out of that system. So, you know, I'm familiar with systems such as these, and I mean, they're able to even go as far if you have a hazmat situation. What does the plume look like? Which direction is it going? What area is it going to affect? And here's the numbers that have to be called, and you can do prearranged messages that can be sent out. You know, and we can have it for all types of different emergencies so that no matter who's here, they can make sure that information gets out. So anyway, we're going to be looking into this and see what we can come up with.
All right.
Questions?
Thank you, Chief. District 2, any questions?
No questions, sir.
District 3?
Thank you again, Chief. I do have some feedback, comment regarding the emergency notification system as you're doing research. I had shared with the city manager's office that, yes, you'll have a whole office now, but the city manager's office about a text email alert system that would be, yes, for emergencies, but then it could also help notify regarding water outages, street maintenance, brush, trash pickup delays, community neighborhood alerts like silver alerts, etc. So I'm wondering if if there's an opportunity to have are there emergency service alert programs that
What you're talking about is exactly what we're talking about. We can customize that system. I think it's Civics Plus is what we're looking at right now. But it gives us that ability to
Be
customize.
implementing a penalty for department heads who turn around too many times during their presentation?
But it would allow us to do exactly what, you know, people have to sign up for that type of notification because those numbers come from the 911 system, so they have to give permission to be able to use them in that fashion.
You can see how that looks by going to Kaufman's city page. They utilize that system.
And you know, like if you open a water bill, maybe we could have you sign up. Then it becomes part of the agreement, right? But thanks for answering my question on would the system that we're looking at or researching include some of those components.
Yeah.
Okay. District 4? District 5? All right, thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 9.1, discuss and consider memorandum of understanding between the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority and the City of Terrell. Mr. Sims.
Okay, so I believe it's page 61 that has a map that does the best job clarifying all of this. Some of it is just fairly basic paperwork. Yeah, go one more, please. So this is the often discussed Sage Hill Parkway program. You can see on the right side of the screen there, Interstate 20. So that's the Interstate 20 overpass over County Road 305, or as we like to call it, Sage Hill Parkway. You can see American Way coming down there, the sort of white top of a building that you can see there that's existing, that's Film Alley. You can see the Magnolia Phase 1 apartments, the lake that's out there, the Phase 2 apartments that are under construction right now. So as we've discussed several different times, the developer team, they're going to be working on building, have already built parts of that crossroad extension. And you can see on the left-hand side of the page where in orange there, Independence Parkway comes down, and they're building it down to that second entrance on Magnolia Phase 2 right now to give themselves that second means of entrance over there. So as part of building the Hotel Event Center project that we took action on a couple of weeks ago with a resolution, we also want to make sure that we say, okay, how will the infrastructure around the Hotel Event Center get constructed? Independence Parkway going from that fire access at Magnolia Phase 2 down to Sage Hill Parkway, that's a private sector project, okay? So the developer will be constructing that. We'll provide a little bit of assistance under our development agreement for the wetland crossing because there's some special costs and issues involved with crossing the wetlands. You can see the wetlands kind of in a dark color on the map that run just on the north side of the Hotel Event Center. Between the Hotel Event Center and the lake there. That's where those wetlands that are delineated, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers wetlands run. And so we've got developers working with a little money from the city on the wetland crossing to build the orange Independence Parkway. So then we're left with, okay, who's going to build the I-20 frontage roads? Well, remember, the county has been working with TxDOT on our behalf to get the frontage roads built on I-20 and the interchange built on I-20, and they're out there buying land for that now. So there have been property owners all through Terrell from State Highway 34 all the way over to the future Los Lomas Parkway intersection, having land purchased by TxDOT for that. We were recently informed that they have hired a consulting firm to do the full-scale engineering of that frontage road project. That's very good news. We've been trying to encourage them to do that for quite some time, and they think that they'll actually be at the 30% mark in those plans by late summer 2023. So they're certainly moving along in that. That's an estimated $200 million project that would add frontage roads from the future Los Lomas location going over County Road 305, over 148. That provides the exit in both directions for 148 and Sage Hill Parkway. And then that continues over to Rose Hill Road. It provides the new 2578 access points. And then it also ends up fixing some of the safety hazards that are out there with the State Highway 34 frontage road location. I just bring all that up to say, even though we know they're making great progress on that, and even though we see them moving forward on engineering, you never do quite know when TxDOT will exactly build something. So what we have to do is, as part of their work, they'll be building County Road 305 or Sage Hill Parkway up to American Way, okay? And so you can see, I've shown it on this map, is what looks like this sort of dark color with the yellow hatched lines on it. That's indicating that whenever we build Sage Hill Parkway from American Way to Independence, we can't count on TxDOT to be done, right? We're going to go faster than them, so we have to provide a temporary tie-in, and that's what's shown there going from the American Way over to Interstate 20. Likewise, on the north side of the map, or on Independence, north of Independence Parkway over there, you can see the tie-in going as Sage Hill Parkway continues over to the future extension of Los Lomas. We aren't going to build Sage Hill Parkway all the way over to Los Lomas, and we're certainly not going to build it all the way over to Akron Way right away. That's going to get stage constructed. One day you'll be able to drive from Akron Way in Forney all the way over to Rose Hill Road, and it'll all be on the same road. Okay, great, that's good transportation planning, but you build that thing slowly, right? And we only want to build right now between Independence Parkway and American Way. So we're faced with a $5 million cost, and we need to get that road built before the Hotel Event Center will be willing to build a Hotel Event Center. They don't want to go out there with no road, and that road being loaded on the cost of the Hotel Event Center becomes a cost prohibitive thing. So we've been trying to figure out, well, what's the development opportunity there? What can we do to be creative to deliver this roadway in a unique fashion? So we reached out to the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority, and we said, hey, we've got an idea here. What if we were to take development fees from the Eastland Business Park project and development fees from apartments that might be built to the west of Independence Parkway and to the north of Independence Parkway? What if development fees from those two zones could be used to repay the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority for their costs in building Sage Hill Parkway? So it's a $5 million estimated cost for Sage Hill Parkway, and that's the full meal deal, right? That's 2 lanes in each direction, big median in the middle where we can come back and add additional lanes easily if we need to. Full storm water. The wetlands mean there's a lot of water that goes across Sage Hill Parkway. We need to raise all of that up about 5 feet and let the water go underneath of it instead of just trickling along the side of it. So it's full storm water, full sewer, full sidewalks, and then setting ourselves up for success in the future. The water out there actually gets built in the future when Eastland Business Park gets built, and there's just a small tie-in between American Way and the hotel because most of the hotel water is coming off of Independence Parkway. So how do we get it built? We've gone to Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority. If I go, and you don't have to do this, or you can go ahead and do this, Don, I guess. Go back over to agenda item page 53 now. So you can see that they passed resolution for them 23-06, Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority. It was created years ago at the request of Gregg and Smith's counties in accordance with Texas Transportation Code. And this just walks you through in the whereases the rule book that they use to develop projects, right? And they're hoping that we can follow their resolution. So what they did was to say, hey, we're going to authorize the executive director of the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority to start working on this thing. They need to hire consultants, they need to hire a lawyer, they need to do a state infrastructure bank loan application. So if you think about how complicated we had to make this, says we didn't want Terrell taxpayers to have to pay for it, trying to get developers to pay for it and time it out correctly. So the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority goes to TxDOT. They apply for a state infrastructure bank loan. They sign on the loan. They guarantee that they're going to pay off that $5 million loan over a 30-year period to the Texas Department of Transportation. They're only willing to do that if we say to them that whenever we get impact fees coming in from folks who develop in Eastland Business Park and any additional apartment units that develop over close to crossroads, north or west, however you want to look at it, of Independence Parkway, we'll wash all of those development fees together. We'll promise that as those come in, we'll be providing those over the course of time to the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority. They'll save that money up. They'll collect those dollars. They'll pay off that state infrastructure bank loan so that we don't have to worry about us borrowing money or anything. And they take a little bit of a risk there, right? If development goes quickly, then they get paid back a little quicker. If development goes slowly, then they have some risks involved with that. We want to backstop their risks by saying, hey, we've got 2 tax increment refinance zones here. We've got TERS number 3 and TERS number 1, one on the north side of Sage Hill Parkway, one on the south side of Sage Hill Parkway. We can use those to make sure that they don't miss an interest payment on their net RMA loan. So we feel like we're confident that we've got a good funding package here. But it's complicated, so you don't want to get into all of the detail that I just explained unless both parties are on board, okay? So what you've got here, if you turn over to agenda item page 55, is they're requesting that we sign a non-binding memorandum of understanding that states that we're going to just set forth our basic understanding about how we're going to do the project, and they're hoping that their resolution says that their executive director can sign it. I'm asking for a simple vote, not by resolution, but just by a simple vote, authorizing me to go ahead and sign it on our side. And you can read through all of the avenues of the agreement. It basically follows the idea that I just let you know. And the most important part is number 9 on agenda item page 57. We're going to do all this work. We're going to get this thing ready to go. But the main thing we're doing is actually negotiating a development agreement that is the vehicle for the payback of the state infrastructure bank loan. And again, you don't want to pay your lawyer a lot of money if you're Northeast Texas RNMA, and you don't want to apply for the SIB grant unless you've got some vote of the Terrell City Council saying, hey, city manager, go forward and work on this project. So number 9 says, notwithstanding the foregoing, nothing requires the parties to jointly develop a project or enter into future agreements, blah, 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 blah. Because of course, all of this is premised on the idea that this MOU tells me to go work with the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority Executive Director and hammer out the final agreements, okay? We've got a nice little idea in principle. We've talked about it before as we talked about the Hotel Event Center in executive session, and I think it's an important step now to say, hey, we're serious, NetRMA. We're going to tell our city manager to go finish the work with Glenn Green, who's the executive director over there. I'm enthusiastic about it. I'm glad this came into place, and I would also say that we owe. I hate to do it, but I think we'll owe Robert Messer a little thanks because he's a representative who's also on our EDC board, who is on the board of the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority. And as I've talked to him about this, I can guarantee he's been encouraging the board to branch out and find creative partnerships, and this definitely matches with creative partnerships. So happy to take any questions on this project.
Yeah, no, Mike, I know that there was a lot of discussion and hard work put into this MOU. It is for $5 million. It is improvements that need to be made if we're going to continue the growth out there. If we want to move forward with the hotel convention portion of it, I think it's important for us, not only for the city, but it'll be good for the county and a regional draw. My take on it is that things are going to be developing quicker and that we might be able to pay this off sooner rather than later. So I think it's a good thing for the city. We don't have to borrow any money. It's all on them, and we get what we want. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mike?
Well, sounds like the classic use of other people's money. So, I like that.
All right.
Mike?
But just one question. In terms of negotiations, you said the negotiation was for the funds to be paid, how the funds are going to be paid back to the developers?
Well, no money will go to the developers, right? So the developers, they just basically pay an impact fee whenever they come in and build Eastland Business Park or build apartments, that sort of thing. So just in the same way that you've seen in the past, somebody will come in, they'll write a big check for impact fee funds, and in times we've used that to, you know, we've used some of that sometimes for the improvements at Crossroads Park. We've taken impact fee funds and flexed that over to development to other locations in the city. So this time we just sort of know, well, that's a good piece of city infrastructure. A whole bunch more people other than just that hotel are going to use it over the course of time because it stretches from Forney to Rose Hill, right? That's a huge piece of infrastructure for us to build over the course of time. And when the developer pays those fees, we collect them, we hand them back over to NetRMA. NetRMA pays off their loan with the state of Texas. It's a subsidized loan because it's through the state infrastructure bank, and so they're even going to get a nice low interest rate off of that money because they're borrowing from the state government.
Thank you. Mayor Ronnie?
Going in order here, right? So Mike, I'm trying to get a general idea for the $5 million that could be repaid from either the impact fees from the developments that are in this development area, or from, you know, combination of TERS funds as well. How do you foresee those at being separated? Because I see the Memorandum of Understanding, which is also non-binding, lists funds that would come from taxes. I mean, you know, general fund monies. What would you, if we had to guess now, what would be a percentage of, maybe 50% of the funds to repay the $5 million will come from impact fees, or we're shooting for only 30%, 20% coming from TERS funds?
I'm going to say that answering that is going to be based on the level of optimism I want to put to it, okay? If I'm going to be a pessimist, and say that we're going to have a drought in development and that some of the development out there is going to go a little bit slower than predicted, then that's going to mean that the tax increment refinance zones pay a little bit more, right? Because those are some existing sources of revenue that we've already created, and we know that that money is already coming in, and it would be adequate to make interest payments over to net RMA to support the SIB loan, okay? So if I'm a pessimist, I'm going to tell you that more of the money will come out of the TERS. If I'm an optimist and I think, yeah, we're going to see those apartments get built pretty quick, we're going to have a big industrial building come in Eastland pretty quick, and so on down the line, then I'm going to tell you that if I'm an optimist, then none of the money will come out of the TERS because it'll all come out of impact fees. So it's really, ask yourself if you're a pessimist or optimist about development in the city. If you're a pessimist, it's going to be more from the TERS with impact fees filling in as they go. And if you're an optimist, you're going to think, yeah, we'll never touch the TERS money because we're going to have meaningful payments from the developers for impact fees. So.
Okay, as we, in the future, all goes well and start talking about how we're going to repay that money, I would like to have updates on where we're proposing those funds are being pulled from.
Yeah, and I would say that the purpose of the MOU is that we're now talking about a very complicated topic in terms of creating a financial contract between us and NetRMA. And the reason they wanted to do this ahead of time was to say, look, we all got to realize that that's a fairly complicated legal document. Their lawyer is going to draft it with input from my financial models. And so what they'll do is as they create that, I'll be able to come back and say, okay, this is where that wording looks like now. And so the point of their wording in here that says you're not agreeing to a development agreement right now, and they're not agreeing to a development agreement right now, is that all we're saying in the MOU is let's go make a development agreement, and then when you review that, you'll see exactly the wording that says exactly the calculations about TERS 1 versus TERS 3, impact fees from the north side versus impact fees from the south side. We actually refer to as a capital recovery fee in our Eastland Business Park agreement. So there's more complication there, and all of that comes to City Council after we start the work on creating the legal agreement.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ford?
Just my understanding of impact fees, they're used to assist with infrastructure and streets and things like that, right?
Yes.
Bob? Okay. Thank you, Mike. Are we're going to need to take a vote on this one?
Yes, sir.
What I will tell you is that what's positive for the city is that net RMA is very conservative, and they wouldn't enter into agreement with just any municipality. So they have confidence in what we're doing as a governing body and within the city. So, and that our financials are in order because, they're
I think that's a great comment, and I probably should have brought it up myself. This is because we get clean audits. This is because we've got a healthy credit rating. This is because we've been trustworthy in deals that we've done with TxDOT and the Regional Transportation Council. When Glenn Green goes to the RTC and says, well, hey, the city did a deal with you guys where the city said you would give revenue back after we traded revenue. Remember the $8.6 million deal? On that whole deal, well, I've got NetRMA can call COG and say, is the city trustworthy? And the answer is yes, and that's great. That's part of being a trusted partner.
Yeah. So is there a motion on item 9.1?
I would recommend, Mr. Mayor, that if there want to be a motion, it would be to authorize the city manager to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority and the city of Terrell.
Thank you, Mr. Shumpert. Is there a motion on item 9.1?
It's hard to remember all that.
Would you like to make a motion as to what I just said there?
On what?
To authorize the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the city of Terrell and the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority.
Do they need to put the amount?
in an-
Five
yeah,
million?
in
Oh,
an
5
amount
million.
Not to exceed
$5 million.
$5 million.
Okay, here we go. Yes, I move that we authorize the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding. Oh, okay, there it is up there. A memorandum of understanding made between the Northeast Texas Regional Mobility Authority and the city of Terrell, Texas.
In an amount not to exceed $5 million.
In an amount not to exceed $5 million.
Good motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Andrea Reese, District 5, to authorize the city manager to enter into MOU with the Northeast Texas Regional Mobile Authority and the city of Terrell in an amount not to exceed $5 million. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda are the consent
Mayor, may I
agendas.
make a request that we handle the consent items separately so that we can do a little paperwork cleanup during that item?
Absolutely. So let's take each of the items individually. 10.1, Greg, would you read that into
Yes,
the record?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight, ordinance
Second
number
reading.
2960. Bring it up here.
On second reading.
An ordinance of the city council of the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, amending Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the city of Terrell by changing the zoning classification on certain real property more particularly described as lots 1A and 2A, block 507, Stallings addition to the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, consisting of 1.47 acres of land, 64,076 square feet, and also known as 509 Runnels Street, Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, more particularly described in meets and bounds in Exhibit A, attached here to and made a part hereof for all purposes from, I believe it's from retail to planned development retail.
No, this is the one that is
Oh, I'm
from
sorry.
light industrial to
Light
SFC.
Family 6.
Right.
My mistake.
Right.
I know we had one we had to change, but.
Yeah, that's coming next, yeah, huh?
So it's from light industrial LI to single family 6 SF6, providing for severability and providing an effective date, ZC 2301. This comes to you tonight on second reading.
This is ordinance number 2960. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 2960.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Andrea Reese, District 5, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem District 3, to approve ordinance number 2960 as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.2. Greg, would you?
So, Mayor, can I just make a comment first? So just to clarify, here's what's happened on this item. You might have noticed we've been doing a lot of paperwork lately. And my fault, we managed to get this particular item a bit garbled. So what Omira's handing out is the exact stuff that the P&Z saw, and it's what you saw on first reading. And under second reading, we didn't get it in the packet correctly, okay? So we did a little cleanup, and now we're handing this out again. So item 2956, Greg is going to read the caption off of this guy, and just for orientation, so it's all nice and clean and in the record, we had a late-breaking provision by our private sector partners of a correct description of the land. You see that where it says hotel lot, and then you flip over another page or two, and they've got parking and access lot, because we're breaking the hotel event center up into 2 different lots. That's going to help us out later on. You can see this pretty picture in here that says from Langdon. That shows which lot is which. The next one is that exact exhibit that you've seen before and you already approved on first reading. And there's that list of development standards that was provided to you last time around. So again, private sector updated the survey and legal. Everything else is exactly the same, and we just didn't quite get it in the paperwork. My apologies for that, or we didn't quite get it in the packet correct. So pardon me for that intro. I'm going to do the same thing on the next agenda item, just because we didn't quite get our paperwork there either. But so anyway, Greg, take it away.
Mr. Mayor? Yeah? Yes. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we bring to you tonight ordinance number 2956, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, granting a special use permit under the provisions of Section 31B, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, allowing an exception to the provisions of Section 26, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell for certain property more particularly described as 8.6 acres of land out of the John C. Hale Survey, abstract number 202, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, being located on the northeast corner of Sage Hill Parkway and Independence Parkway, according to the concept plan attached here to as Exhibit A, and under the terms and conditions specified in Exhibit B and C, which are made a part hereof for all purposes by permitting a hotel and event center to be constructed on said property, currently zoned as retail, providing for a repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date, SUP 23-01. This does come to you tonight on second reading.
Again, council, this is ordinance number 2956. Is there a motion?
Yes,
Motion
Mayor.
to approve ordinance 2956.
Motion, is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion from Andrea Reese, District 5, a second from Grady Simpson, District 2, to approve ordinance number 2956. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous vote of those present. Our next item on the agenda is 10.3.
So, Mayor, if, again, just to take your leave, Omar's going to hand this one out. It's really the same story. We had all of the exhibits correct when it went to council. We had all the exhibits correct when it went to P&Z. And here on second reading, we got our exhibits garbled. My fault on that, so my apologies. And I would just say, again, you know, you got a nice survey in there. That shows you where the land is. You've got a set of development standards. Again, they're the exact same thing that you saw before. And then you've got your schematic map that shows the site plan, your elevation, and then your amenity center location is that last page. That was all provided to you last time around. We just didn't get it in the packet correctly this time and wanted to hand it out to not have anything unclear about two really important zoning cases. So
All right.
better to do it right and take a moment
Agree.
of your time.
Agree. Greg?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, we bring to you tonight on second reading ordinance number 2959, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing for the creation of a planned development, PD-R, under the provisions of Section 31A, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell, on certain real property located south of Crossroads Parkway and west of Independence Parkway, consisting of 10.9 acres of land out of the John C. Hale Survey, abstract number 202, Kaufman County, Texas, and more particularly described by meets and bounds on the plat and legal description attached hereto as Exhibit A and made a part hereof for all purposes from retail R to planned development retail PD-R under the terms and conditions specified in Exhibits B, C, D, and E, copies of which are attached hereto and made a part hereof for all purposes, providing for severability and providing an effective date, PD 23-02. This does come to you tonight again on second reading.
Council, this is ordinance number 2959. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor. May I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2959?
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, District 2, a second from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, Mayor Pro Tem, District 3, to approve ordinance number 2959. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with unanimous vote of those present. At this time, we'll move on to item number 11, adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. Section 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations. This time, we're going to move into executive session. Thank you all for coming. done last night. Job well done. Ready? Are we good?
Let me pick up your map.
All right. This time, we'll reconvene into regular session, consider action on items discussed in executive session. Are there any motions? Hearing none, we are adjourned.